Ciao Bella! Welcome to Reading with Bella. I'm Christina, and I'm so glad that you're here with me today. If you're new, welcome in. If you're returning, welcome back. No matter how long you've been here, I always appreciate your time. We are continuing with the Phantasmagoria in the Jabberwocky book. Phantasmagoria was published in 1869, and we are on Canto number 5. The Byckerment. Don't they consult the victims, though? I said. They should by rights give them a chance, because, you know, the tastes of people differ so, especially in sprites. The Phantom shook his head and smiled. Consult them not a bit. 'Twould be a job to drive one wild, to satisfy one single child. There'd be no end to it. Of course you can't leave children free, said I, to pick and choose, but in the case of men like me, I think mine host might fairly be allowed to state his views. He said it really wouldn't pay. Folk are so full of fancies. We visit for a single day, and whether then we go or stay depends on circumstances. And though we don't consult mine host before the thing's arranged, so if the tenant quits his post, or is not a well-mannered ghost, then you can have him changed. But if the host's a man like you, I mean a man of sense, and if the house is not too new, why, what has that, I said, to do with ghost convenience? A new house does not suit, you know. It's such a job to trim it. But after 20 years or so, the wainscotings begin to go, so 20 is the limit. To trim was not a phrase I could remember having heard. Perhaps, I said, you'll be so good as to tell me what is understood exactly by that word. It means the loosening all the doors, the ghost replied and laughed. It means the drilling holes by scores and all the skirting boards and floors to make a thorough draft. You'll sometimes find that one or two are all you really need, to let the wind come whistling through, but here there'll be a lot to do. I faintly gasped, indeed. If I'd been rather later, I'll be bound, I added, trying most unsuccessfully to smile. You'd have been busy all this while, trimming and beautifying? Why, no, he said. Perhaps I should have stayed another minute, but still no ghost that's any good without an introduction would have ventured to begin it. The proper thing, as you were late, was certainly to go, but with the roads in such a state, I got the knight's mayor's leave to wait for half an hour or so. Who's the knight's mayor? I cried, instead of answering my question. Well, if you don't know that, he said, either you never go to bed, or you've a grand digestion. He goes about and sits on folk that eat too much at night. His duties are to pinch and poke and squeeze them till they nearly choke, I said. It serves them right. And folk who sup on things like, he muttered, eggs and bacon, lobster and duck and toasted cheese, if they don't get an awful squeeze, I'm very much mistaken. He is immensely fat, and so well suits the occupation. In point of fact, if you must know, we used to call him, years ago, the mayor and corporation. The day he was elected mayor, I know that every sprite meant to vote for me, but did not dare, he was so frantic with despair, and furious with excitement. When it was over, for a whim, he ran to tell the king, and being the reverse of slim, a 2-mile trot was not for him a very easy thing. So to reward him for his run, as it was baking hot, and he was over 20 stone, the king proceeded, half in fun, to knight him on the spot. 'Twas a great liberty to take, I fired up like a rocket. He did it just for punning's sake, the man, says Johnson, that would make a pun, would pick a pocket. A man, said he, is not a king, I argued for a while, and did my best to prove the thing, the Phantom merely listening with a contemptuous smile. At last, when breath and patience spent, I had recourse to smoking. Your aim, he said, is excellent, but when you call it argument, of course you're only joking. Strung by his cold and snaky eye, I roused myself at length to say, at least I do defy the veriest skeptic to deny that union is strength. That's true enough, said he, yet stay. I listened in all meekness. Union is strength, I'm bound to say. In fact, the thing's as clear as day, but onions are a weakness. Canto VI, Dyscomfyture. As one who strives a hill to climb, who never climbed before, who finds it, in a little time, grown every moment less sublime, and votes the thing a bore. Yet having once begun to try, dares not desert his quest, but climbing ever keeps his eye on one small hut against the sky, wherein he hopes to rest. Who climbs till nerve and force be spent, with many a puff and pant, who still as rise as the ascent, and language grows more violent, although in breath more scant. Who climbing gains at length the place that crowns the upward track, and entering with unsteady pace, receives a buffet in the face that lands him on his back, and feels himself, like one in sleep, glide swiftly down again, a helpless weight from steep to steep, till when, with a headlong giddy sweep, he drops upon the plain. So that I had resolved to bring conviction to a ghost, and found it quite a different thing from any human arguing, yet dared not to quit my post. But keeping still the end in view, to which I hoped to come, I strove to prove the matter true, by putting everything I knew into an axiom. Commencing every single phrase with therefore or because, I had blindly reeled 100 ways about the syllogistic maze, unconscious where I was. Quoth he, that's a regular claptrap, don't bluster any more. Now do be cool and take a nap, you're such a peppery old chap, as never was before. You're like a man I used to meet, who got one day so furious, in arguing the simple heat, scorched both the slippers off his feet. I said, that's very curious. Well, it is curious, I agree, and sounds perhaps like fibs, but still it's true as true can be, as sure as your name's Tibbs, he said. I said, my name's not Tibbs. Not Tibbs, he cried. His tone became a shade or two less hearty. Why, no, I said, my proper name is Tibbets. Tibbets, aye, the same. Why, then, you're not the party. With that he struck the board a blow that shivered half the glasses. Why couldn't you have told me so 3/4 of an hour ago, you're king of all the asses? To walk 4 miles through mud and rain, to spend the night in smoking, and then to find that it's in vain, and I've to do it all again, it's really too provoking. Don't talk, he cried, as I began to mutter some excuse. Who can have the patience with a man that's got no more discretion than an idiotic goose? To keep me waiting here instead of telling me at once that this was not the house, he said. There, that'll do. Off to bed. Don't gape like that, you dunce. It's very fine to throw the blame on me in such a fashion. Why didn't you inquire my name the very minute that you came? I answered in such a passion. Of course it worries you a bit to come so far on foot, but how was I to blame for it? Well, well, he said, I must admit, that isn't badly put. And certainly you've given me the best of wine and victual. Excuse my violence, he said, but accidents like this, you see, they put one out a little. 'Twas my fault after all, I find. Shake hands, old turnip-top. The name was hardly to my mind, but as no doubt he meant it kind, I let the matter drop. Good night, old turnip-top. Good night. When I am gone, perhaps they'll send some inferior sprite who'll keep you in constant fright and spoil your soundest naps. Tell him you'll stand for no sort of trick, then if he leers and chuckles, you'll be just as handy with a stick. Mind that it's pretty hard and thick, and rap him on his knuckles. Then carelessly remark, Old coon, perhaps you're not aware that if you don't behave you'll soon be chuckling to another tune, and so you'd best take care. That's the right way to cure a sprite of such like goings on. But gracious me, it's nearly light. Good night, old turnip-top, good night. And nod, and he was gone. Canto VII. Sad Souvenance. What's this, I pondered. Have I slept, or can I have been drinking? But soon a gentler feeling crept upon me as I sat and wept an hour or so, like winking. Then, as my tears could never bring my favorite phantom back, it seemed to me the proper thing to mix another glass and sing the following Coronach. This is the Coronach. I will not sing it. And art thou we'll start over. And art thou gone, beloved ghost, best of familiars, Nay then, farewell, my duckling roast, farewell, farewell, my tea and toast, my Mirzachum and cigars. The hues of life are dull and grey, the sweets of life insipid. When thou, my charmer, art away, old brick rather, let me say, old parallelepiped. Instead of singing verse the third, I ceased abruptly rather, but after such a splendid word, I felt that it would be absurd to try it any farther. No need for Bones to hurry, thought I. In fact, I doubt if it was worth his while to go. And who is Tibbs, I'd like to know, to make such work about? If Tibbs is anything like me, it's possible, I said. He won't be over pleased to be dropped in upon at 3:30 after he's snug in bed. And if Bones plagues him anyhow, squeaking and all the rest of it, as he's to do here just now, I prophesy there'll be a row and Tibbs will have the best of it. So with a yawn I went my way to seek the welcome downy, and slept and dreamed till breach of day of poltergeist and fetch and fay, and leprechaun and brownie. And never since by sea or land, on mountain or on plain, mid-Arctic snow or Afric sand, not even in the Strand, has Bones appeared again. A Quaker friend accosted me, tall stiff as any column. They're out of sorts, I fear, he said. Verily, I'm grieved to see the ghost so grave and solemn. The ghost not grave, I said, but gay, not solemn, but convivial. I'm out of spirits, you should say, not out of sorts. He turned away, thinking the answer trivial. For years I've not been visited by any kind of sprite, yet still they echo in my head, those parting words so kindly said, Old Turnip Top, good night. And that is the end of the Phantasmagoria. Oh, my nose itches. I'm so sorry. So I will end this video here, and we will pick up another time with a Valentine. Be the change you wish to see in the world, everyone. Ciao bella.